Talk about something I think I'm a little bit more hyped for, Germs. Shaman King 2021, the reboot, episode 1. What'd you think, man?
Um, I don't know. It's a really weird feeling watching it. It kind of felt like a throwback in time, to another time of just like super crazy character designs and like the feel of it. Like the MCU is just super chill. Like don't even really. He's just quiet and all that kind of stuff. So it's really weird seeing, and especially since it didn't really focus on the main character. Well, I would assume is the main character for a lot of the episode. So it was really weird, really weird. Like a throwback. Like I like felt like I'm young again.
Yeah, did you see like Shaman King episodes as a kid? Like, are you familiar with it? No, not at all. Yeah,
Not at all.
see, I'm not familiar with it at all, but it did give me a little like it. You can tell it's a little older series. I mean, the first series came out in '01, and you have to assume the manga was probably coming out in the '90s. So this reboot's taking place 20 years later. The manga, let's say 20 plus years, you know what I mean? So since this was written and published, so yeah, it's getting the Brotherhood treatment, and I'm really happy for it. What'd you think of the OP, by the way?
I thought it was okay. I showed a lot of characters I'd obviously never seen before, but pretty normal OP to me.
Character dump, man. They showed so many characters in that OP. I think I'm more hyped for this one than you, Germs. Honestly, I thought it was a solid introduction into the world. They kind of explained shamans. We had the very first scene, which kind of sets up the twin rivalry, I guess you could call it. I think Ami Damaru, the samurai, is like a total badass. I can't wait to see, because they showed a little bit of his past 600 years ago. So I want to see what like more of what he was like 600 years ago as a samurai, I think the Monosuke, I think is how you say the reuniting with the swordsmith. I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know how they were gonna like work that into the story, but then we saw Yo kind of take his spirit in. I guess we're new to the series, but and so I guess he becomes a shaman with that spirit, and he was able to pass on because of he had some feelings left over, and he finally got them resolved. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like I think that kind of stuff is really set up really quick. Is there was no filler in that at all. That kind of story, they didn't say extra information they didn't need to. They just went right into the good stuff and just concluded the whole story beginning to end in that episode as well.
Yeah, they got right into it, no BS. The fight scene was again, this is just nitpick. I'm just nitpicking today, but the fight scene was very lackluster, but that's okay. It's just the first episode. Maybe they're saving some of his power and what he can really do for later on, but I thought it was solid. I'm hyped, man. I really am. I think we're going to talk about this in the news later, but it looks like this might be a long-running show, which no complaints from me, as a newcomer into the series, and I'm just hyped that I'm watching a shonen that is a big one that I just never experienced as a kid.
Yeah, I just have we've seen the episode, there's a few questions that are obviously going to be answered, like what the Shaman King really is. Like, is it you're just the most powerful, you're number one, or obviously we'll be told that pretty soon, I would imagine. And the only problem, quote unquote, I had with this show is the 2-foot midget of our stand-in character. And also the character designs in general are really all over the place. The style, it's like some characters are like when he goes to school, totally normal looking humans, and then you have like the 2-foot stand-in character that's literally like just 2 feet and no one even bats an eye or anything.
Yeah,
and like the reaction faces that he has, like they just stay on those huge reaction faces for so long. It was like a little weird. Like that's the only character I have a little bit of problem with at the moment. It's just like he's so jarring compared to all the other characters. Just being I'm not just assuming 2 feet or something like that. And just I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the only problem I currently have with the show is just that one character, and it seems like it's our stand-in for the viewer. It's like, oh, what's a
Well,
shaman? You
maybe
can,
it's just an episode one thing, and he's just like a supporting character. We don't know, but yeah, the character designs are interesting. Here's a question: assuming that this is a faithful adaptation and they look like that in the manga, would you have preferred they change how they look and make them a little bit more modern and consistent, or would you prefer that they keep his style and how different he looks from like the rest of them?
that is a good question. It just
That's a
feels
good question, right?
because it'd obviously be nice, like the Yo has like a totally normal, like just a short kind of kid in design. It's like, okay, looks totally normal, and then just seeing how crazy this other character looks right next to him is just a little
Yeah,
jarring for me, throwing me
that
out a
is
little bit.
true. Yeah,
But
yeah.
maybe he doesn't show up too often, so maybe it won't be a problem at all. It seems like all the other, like at the end with that other shaman, I would assume, looks like a totally normal, like totally weird hair designs and stuff, but like at least body proportion wise isn't totally out there. I think I just had a little bit more problem with the body proportion size than the actual design. So maybe if they just made him a little bit more normal, maybe just made him just a short person, not like a super short person. I don't know. It's a little weird, but that's just a nitpick
Yeah,
from me.
you bring up two interesting points that I want to touch on here. First is the proportion size. So when the YouTube trailer came out for this Netflix anime, everyone was talking about a shot with Yo. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe it'll be in the second episode. And everyone was bagging on how his head is like disproportionate to his body. Like here's his body and like here's his head. Like it was way too big, right? And it kind of gives it that younger cartoony look, right? So yeah, I could see how that's going to be, because we want it to look as
Consistent.
consistent and realistic isn't the right word because it's anime, but we want it to look like a mature, developed story, right? We don't want it to look like it's made for kids, right? Like we want the reboot to be like action packed and speak to a more mature audience, and I guess more mature designs would help that. And also, you brought up the hair designs, dude. So the original was a 2000s anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what this gave me vibes of? Gave me vibes of Yu-Gi-Oh, dude.
Oh
Like
yeah.
like the pharaoh in Yugi, and how he kind of they're one, right? So like Yugi will talk, but like you'll have the picture of like the pharaoh talking as well, and like sometimes they'll have both their voices talking, like saying the same thing, like in unison. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
gave me that vibe because they both older anime from the 2000s. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, I can totally see how this came out in like the Yu-Gi-Oh era. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. Oh yeah, I
But
definitely
yeah.
agree. Yeah, they have totally out there hairstyles, and there'll probably be way more as the series goes on.
Probably,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Yeah, I'm digging it though, and
Yeah.
I want to learn more about Amidamaru's past, and I want to see some wars he's been in and stuff. So I want to know like the power system too, right? So like they're shamans and they're possessing these spirits, right? Like, but it seemed like Yo was mimicking the moves of Amidamaru. Like, is there ever going to be a point? Because I always thought it was like JoJo stands, where like Amidamaru comes out and like fights for him. That's what I always thought it was like. So, like, do the spirits come out and fight each other, or does the characters mimic the spirits' movements? Like, I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, it's a
So,
good question. I wonder that question as well because if you have two shamans fighting, it was Yo fighting a human. So if he was fighting another shaman, would their stands just fight and they would just sit there like Pokemon, or
that's what I thought. That's what I thought it would be. But I like JoJo stands, like literally like JoJo stands, and that's what I always got the impression of. But in this episode, it seemed like Yo was mimicking the moves of the samurai. So I don't know if they're gonna mimic the moves and like be like one with them, or if the actual spirits are gonna just clash against each other. Which I would probably prefer, to be honest with you. But I guess we'll have to see.
yeah, maybe they go into that Unity mode if they need a little bit more power or something like that, or maybe they'll probably explain in the next episode or so. When we see two shamans going against each other. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said with this episode, I think they really held back on the action a little bit to, when shit really goes down, it's like, it hits a little bit more. This was kind of I don't want to say disappointing with the action, but it was the first episode. It was kind
first
of,
episode.
you know what I mean? Like he just beat up a bunch of thugs, and that was kind of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Final thoughts. I'm hyped about this. Maybe a little bit more hyped than you, Jerms. I'm surprised, but I think this is a good start. Good start.
Mm-hmm.
No complaints from me.
Yeah, I'm going to obviously continue watching it, and just hopefully that they don't focus on that shorter character. I forgot what his name is, but it's mostly just that character that's been throwing me off on really loving the series. Everything else, Yo seems pretty cool. Amidaru seems pretty cool. So just hopefully they focus on them instead of the random other side character.
I think you're crazy for not liking the opening. By the way, I thought the opening was fire. Watch as more weeks stack on and we watch that opening over and over again, it's going to be like the Attack on Titan one. Like it's going to grow on you. So that's what I'm predicting.